Welcome back to another Sunday Swings, second week of 2026. Let's start with the pairs. First is NZD CAD. NZD CAD, we have this super big doji on the daily. It's also forming this head and shoulders pattern. We are bullish now that we have broken above this level. We have the EMA. Well, actually we are below the EMA, but I think if we break above and then have the retest, and then we can take the trade to the upside with the EMA. On the weekly, we had this big bullish engulfing candle, and I want to, no, okay. Yeah, solid trade. I don't think the lower time frames are super clean. You'd have to somehow find an entry, but I think it's a valid trade. I think you could wait for it to break above this level. Then you would add this area of interest, and then you would have a valid head and shoulders. Now it's not valid since we are still at the right shoulder, but if we break above this level and then have a retest, then it's a valid head and shoulders pattern. Euro NZD, also a head and shoulders pattern on the right shoulder. We are at the right shoulder right now. The weekly also is a head and shoulders pattern, and we had this super clean weekly doji. We obviously have this clean daily area of interest, and this is also pretty clean area of interest, especially on the 4 hour. And I think if we have a nice bearish candlestick, engulfing candlestick would be great, and then a retest, then we can take this trade to the downside. To this level, I think holding longer than this level right here, this area of interest, might be a bit risky, but I do think that it has a lot of downside potential because the EMA is very far out, and we have this clean area of interest, head and shoulders. Yeah. Euro GBP. Euro GBP is higher risk because on the daily it looks pretty clean. We have this strong area of interest, but on the weekly we run into this, well, not area of interest, but into this, actually maybe, I think it's there. If we stretch this further, oh, it hits perfectly even on the daily. So this kind of is a valid area of interest even on the weekly. What I would be hoping for, what would be ideal, is for this to fill the wick. A wick fill to the EMA would be great. Otherwise, I think it's going to maybe form a right shoulder for a head and shoulders pattern. I think this is very possible. If this happens, there will be a trade, but it would take a lot of time, like at least 3 weeks more. Yeah. So if nothing super clean happens on the lower time frames, I'm not interested. But I do think something could happen to the downside. I don't know. NZD-USD is by far the cleanest pair. It's the best pair out of all of them. On the weekly, we are at the EMA. We are rejecting the EMA. Two strong bearish candles the last 2 weeks. But especially clean is the daily, where we have this super good looking head and shoulders pattern. We are at the EMA. So now we need a retest from this level or from this level. If we make it back up to this level, we will have shifted bullish on the 4 hours. So maybe we would wait for a shift of structure at this level on the 4 hour. But I think, I mean, look at this. We have the EMA also on the 1 hour. This consolidation, it's a pretty strong area of interest right here. So we want to retest and then the move to the downside. This is really super clean. GBP CAD. On the weekly, last week we had this super strong bullish candle, and then last week we had, we did have this strong. Okay, so we had this strong candle on Monday, and then 4 days in a row doing pretty much nothing. It just went down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. So nothing really happened after Monday. And now I think after this consolidation, we can break out to the upside or to the downside. This is also a very high risk trade, but I think it is tradable. Sometimes you have the tweezer top kind of something like this, where you have 1 week just going up super strong and then the next week doing basically the same move but to the opposite direction, just like here. Sometimes we have a week in between, a doji, where it's doing nothing. But GBP CAD looks pretty clean when it comes to this. You have this bearish candle, doji, big bullish candle. Here the same, but to the opposite direction. Then you have the same thing but without the doji. Then you have this again with a doji. Here again without a doji, with a doji. GBP CAD is pretty clean when it comes to that. So now maybe we have a doji this week, or maybe we have a strong move to the downside, or maybe some continuation like you can see here. Pretty high risk, but I think it's tradable, considering that the 4 hour looks so clean. I mean, this is as clean as it gets. It's going up, down, up, down, up, down. And this might only be consolidation, but it's super clean structure. GBP USD, also pretty clean. We just shifted bearish on the daily. On the weekly, we failed to engulf this bullish candlestick. I don't think this candlestick even okay, no, it does have a wick. Retest to this area of interest and then the move to the downside for our EMA. Yeah, something like this, pretty straightforward. GBP JPY, we had a lot of JPY pairs last week and they didn't really perform as they should have, but out of all the JPY pairs, GBP JPY looks the cleanest, so I'm ready to give it another shot. I actually took NZD? No. Euro JPY. But after this super strong 2-hour bullish engulfing candlestick, I get out. And normally set and forget, and you should just hold. But considering it was the first week of the year and not that much volume in the markets, and the cross pair correlation was a bit off, and all the other JPY pairs were moving differently. CAD JPY, for example, or NZD JPY. Some JPY pairs moved beautifully, but Euro JPY didn't. So I get out of that trade. But GBP JPY looks pretty clean. You have this pretty clean area of interest. So now I'm waiting for a break below, retest, and then the move to the downside. Obviously, it's a counter trend trade. Actually, if we break below this area of interest, then the daily will be bearish, the 4-hour will be bearish, and the weekly will still be bullish, but it's not going to be as much counter trend as it would have been before this candle, which broke above this higher high. So now if we break below, we're obviously bearish. NZD CHF, we are bullish on the weekly. We are also at pretty much the lowest point ever. We have this double bottom, 2 in a row. I don't know. On the daily, we broke above this level and now are also bullish. If you look at this, this is the structure. And now above this. We had this big bullish move. No, we were still bearish all the entire time of this move because of this super strong move, and I wouldn't count these two candles as structure to change the direction. But then we went bullish, then bearish, then this is, wait a second. if we are actually at the right shoulder again. I didn't notice that before, but now after I drew this structure, you can see how left shoulder, head, and then the right shoulder. So now this is pretty much NZD CHF and NZD USD are both probably the cleanest pairs. NZD USD obviously is cleaner because of this daily head and shoulders, but NZD CHF, I mean, you have this super strong daily area of interest. We are bullish on the weekly. We are making this new head and shoulders, inverse head and shoulders to the upside. If we break above this level, have a retest, and then the move to the upside, it's probably the second cleanest pair after NZD USD. And NZD USD, we wanted to go down, and NZD CHF we wanted to go up. So there is a bit of, you have a problem with the cross pair correlation, because one time you want NZD to go down, and then you have another time where you want NZD to go up. And it will be difficult for them to both make the move we want. I think we'll have to see what moves the cleanest in the upcoming week. And then we also have GBP AUD bearish on the, bullish on the weekly because of this big move. But considering we are like a year away from this move, I wouldn't count it as relevant, and we could say we are bearish. On the daily we are I guess bullish, but pretty much we could be bearish if this would have closed a bit below this structure point. And on the weekly we are obviously bearish. We have this strong area of interest, but if we can manage to break below this area of interest, then we can take continuation trades to the downside. We have a lot of space to go down, and I think this could take some time, or it could just decide to move to the upside. But if it breaks below and has a retest, then it's also one of the cleanest pairs we have this week. Yeah, NZD USD clean, NZD CHF both clean, but both are kind of enemies. NZD CAD we want to go up, and NZD CHF also, and Euro NZD to the downside. Well, the odds are stacked against NZD USD, but this head and shoulders is just super clean. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to see how the markets behave. I'm gonna wait for the market to show me its hand, and then I am going to make the best out of it. And I hope you too. And I hope you enjoyed it, and see you next week.